Welcome to another episode of the No Ceilings Podcast. I'm Tyler Metcalf, joined as always by Tyler Rucker. Rucker, how are we doing?
Doing great, Metcalf. Combine week, baby. Another episode with Mr. Metcalf. What's there to be sad about? And I have to let's just set the tone right away. Congratulations, sir. Next round, Timberwolves thriving. Saw you were boots on the ground again. You're an animal. Sir. How are you feeling?
Good. Wolves are playing well. Total team effort last night. So it was really fun atmosphere. Target Center was out of their minds. This one guy who was like right next to my press section was standing up in the aisle and yelling the entire game. It was, there's zero chance that he's able to talk today. But waving the towel, screaming, drinking his beer, having the time of his life. So, sir, I don't know who you are, but well done. It was a heck of a performance by him.
Do we think those? So I'm the same way. I think those people are like, oh, they can't talk tomorrow, and then they're probably like leading a business presentation.
Just doing the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Like just
he's at some high school or middle school game doing the same thing.
I also always wonder, like, hey, did you put the mortgage on the spread? Like, what's going on here? Is that what's getting you so out of your seat? So that's great, though.
No, I mean, just passion, love of the game, love of the team. It was a lot of fun. It was a really, really cool atmosphere, and it was good to see the Wolves just close them out, take care of business. It wasn't always the prettiest thing, but really good ball movement, really good approach and process throughout the night. So they're playing well. I know injuries happen, but happens to everyone. So
exactly, and
you don't apologize for who you have to play.
We could go down that rabbit hole, but we don't need to. But I wanted to say, I think Anthony Edwards is hitting next level of superstar. I think there's an ability to unlock when you can take a team in the playoffs, and it's just like throw the records out the door. Like, we have one of the best players in the postseason. I think Ant's kind of reaching that platform right now where he carries his team to be like, we're going toe to toe with anyone.
Yeah,
regular season's behind us. Like, let's go. And he's just climbing the ranks of like guys I would want to go to war. Like, oh, we've got Ant, we've got a shot. So it's been really cool, and I think they got a legit shot to get to the big dance. They got to go through a tough team, whoever, OKC in Denver. OKC, I'm sorry. No, one more game.
Gosh, yeah, they played tonight.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm all over the place.
Game 6, Nuggets Thunder tonight. Should be a fun one. Yeah, so speaking of a lot going on, we got a really fun episode today. 2 wings at kind of different points of their developmental curve or age, I guess, and hype meter. We got Cedric Coward, hottest name on the street, Liam McNeeley. 2 really fun wings. Let's just dive in. Started out with Cedric Coward, who has had himself a heck of a week. Only 6 games at Washington State this year. Spent the previous 2 years at Eastern Washington. He transferred to Washington State and followed his coach. His freshman year, he was playing D3 basketball. Shoots the crap out of the ball. Incredible measurements. He was one of these, coming into this week, he was one of these guys that it was, all right, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? We only had 6 games of him, but the tools are intriguing. The shooting is real. Is he going to stay in the draft, maybe be a fringe first rounder, or is he going to transfer to Duke? And all signs are pointing to him staying in and not only being a fringe first rounder, but being a fringe lottery guy, being that top 20 range looks a lot more likely at this point. He turns 22 in September. His measurements at the combine, 6'6.5", barefoot, 7'2" wingspan. He shot 72% on jumpers throughout all of their shooting drills the other day. Heck of a ball player. Really, really interesting player. Where do you want to start with him?
Yeah, this has become the absolute wild card of the draft. There's always one of these, I feel like, every cycle that starts to cook this month because, we always say, we're talking about the draft and the NBA year round, but this is also the time where people are catching up, and then one guy starts buzzing and you're like, oh, okay, we got a little bit of a heater here. Cedric was been the worst kept secret alive, I feel like, the last couple of weeks. And it was like, oh gosh, if he has a good combine, he's not going to Duke. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you heard a little bit and you're like, no, he's not going to Duke. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm very intrigued, Metcalf. Very, very intrigued with like the tools, what he's got when it comes to the length. Obviously for this episode, watching some of the tape, and man, it doesn't take you a long time to become a fan. And this is the type of player that teams just like drool over. So I think his stock's going to just get red hot. This is the type of player like we're seeing how good the results are when it comes to shooting on the court stuff. I've seen him a couple times in interviews and he sounds very impressive, like just smart. This is where you're like, hey, if he checks that box of like the team interviews went well, it's like, oh gosh, how high can we go with Cedric? And I'm curious to hear what you think.
I think he's kind of a lock for top 20, at least right now. And especially when we look at a lot of these teams in the late lottery or top 20 or even top 10, if you want to get real spicy, the vast majority of them need shooting. Cedric Coward is arguably one of, if not the best shooters from an off-ball standpoint in this draft at 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan. The big selling point with him is the size, the measurables, and the shooting. It's an incredible foundation to start with, but I also like the defense for the most part. We'll get into the nitty-gritty and things he needs to improve on. But I like the defense. I like the passing. I think there are a lot of complementary skills there for him to continue to build on to be more than just a spot-up guy. Just running through some numbers this year on Synergy. Again, only 6 games, so take these with a grain of salt, but I'll jump to next year's as well. All possessions, points per possession, 97th percentile. Really only 3 play types, which I don't love, but spotting up, 90th percentile, transition, 78th percentile, post-ups, 100th percentile, all jumpers, 95th percentile, 84th percentile, shooting off the catch, 98th percentile, shooting off the bounce. And I know these are only 6 games, so they may seem inflated, but even when we go back to last year's numbers where he played with Eastern Washington, 96th percentile overall points per possession. Again, pretty limited play type in terms of post-up, spot-up, and transition, but 97th percentile posting up, 63rd spotting up, 86th percentile in transition, 90th percentile on all jumpers, 88th off the catch, only 52nd off the bounce, and really high level at the rim, and 97th percentile last year as well. So the play finishing profile with him is incredibly efficient with really encouraging volume.
I want to be better about this. So did we talk about his background? Did you do that before?
And I mentioned it. He's like his freshman year, D3, okay. 2 years at Eastern Washington, okay. Followed his coach to Washington State.
Sorry, I was trying to find something. So I just want to make sure, like, for everyone that's trying to catch up on the draft right now, like, thank you. We love you guys. But I want to always, like, hey, this is who Cedric Coward is, in case you're like, where's this guy coming from? And NBA teams are also asking that, like, where did this guy come from? So unbelievable rise to being this type of player. And the thing when you like middle of the year, I feel like no ceilings. We were talking in our group chat, which I absolutely love, especially this time of the year. The middle of the year, we were talking about Cedric Coward, and I feel like it got to a point where we're like, if he plays this whole season, because he got banged up, and we're like, well, if it's bad, this is going to get interesting. Maybe he's a transfer portal guy. If it's not bad and he gets healthy and can play the rest of the year, this guy could be a first rounder. Because it's just the tools, how smooth he is. He looks like such an intriguing offensive weapon because he has that length, but it all looks fluid and connected. And it's not like kind of how I describe it as like Jaden McDaniels when he's at Washington. I felt like it was just a stretched out guy that I was like, everything doesn't look on the same page yet. There's times where it's so fluid and smooth, but it's just like, okay, it just needs time to adjust and get some more reps. And then, with Cedric, it feels like he's just smooth. And then you're like, you don't see smoothness with that length and size, like combination. So I really like his game. The more you watch, you're like, man, this looks like a top 20 guy for me if he's going to check all the boxes at the combine. So, and I know what you're talking about, like defensive wise, there's some fun stuff. There's just like a lot of really good signs for this being a long-term player at the NBA level. And I think this is the skills, like this is the type of wing teams drool over, especially when it's not like top 10. If you're looking at this guy like, whoa, this could be great value. Like we've got something here. Maybe we could sneaky get him at 18. And it's like, well, now every team's thinking that. So he's going to go up. So good size for the perimeter, fantastic wingspan, and can shoot and offers 3-and-D with offensive upside. Like this is going to be a hot name moving forward.
In our last episode the other day, we were talking about how real measurements are and do they matter? And it's one of those things where, do they show up on tape? Yes. Okay. Awesome. And we'll get to some of that with Liam McNeeley in a little bit too. But 7'2" wingspan for Coward, I feel like you see that all the time on the court, and especially on defense with his ability to rotate from the weak side and play with some verticality or block shots, poke balls loose from ball handlers. It gives him such a bigger window and room for error to recover. And this year, block rate of 5.4, the year before 3.7, year before that 3.2, steal rate always over 1.4, super efficient scorer, shooter. Effective field goal rate has never been lower than 62. True shooting percentage never lower than 66. And then you add in the rebounding as well, where the lowest his defensive rebounding rate has been is 17. And then the passing this year, again, I know only 6 games, but assist rate jumped to over 20.5. It's all the little tools in a complementary role that you want to see from guys like this. So I was a little late to the party just because I assumed he was going to return or transfer, and he's all right. We'll worry about him next year. He's a former D3 guy who played 6 games this year. He's not going out this year. If he has eligibility, he's going to stay. And now it's like, oh, no, he's not. And you can really clearly see on the film because the numbers themselves are incredible. But then you just watch him play, and it's really obvious that he's an NBA guy. Yeah,
I'm the same way with you. I think we were all kind of expecting this guy that was going to test the waters, play the pre-draft process smart, where he's like, okay, I want to, like, what do I need to work on to really make some momentum next year? Especially if he was going to Duke. And I know Blue Devil fans are probably like, oh man, we're not going to get him. And it's like, nope, I don't think he's ever going to step foot on that campus. So I apologize.
I think they'll be okay.
They'll be okay. They're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I'm not worried. Booze Cruise 2026.
Kamenia and Coward on the wing together.
I would, yeah.
Fun.
We wouldn't have even had to watch the NCAA tournament because there's just been bombs galore. I just, I was late to the party here because I was like, he's going back, and then all of a sudden you just start getting that buzz because I also don't want to like waste 2 nights of film watching on a guy that's going back until I need to know like, oh, we got a real shot here. And the moment it started getting like, oh, he's buzzing, I was like, okay, let's put the tape on. And in this episode, so I don't know how high right now, Metcalf, because I think you could, this type of skills and this is the type of foundation. Like this is a late bloomer. So teams are like, he's still on the rise despite being a little bit older, but I think he's going to be a name that really shocks some people about like how high he could get when it comes to his range.
Let's talk about the offense first. What stands out? I know we've mentioned the shooting a lot, but in terms of role, archetype, responsibilities, upside, likes, dislikes, take it any direction you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because we don't have with some of these late bloomers, I don't like to go off too much of like previous years because then you start to see like, well, the game's different. Like he moves different now and he's more versatile. So it's tough because this year we have like not a lot of tape, but you still got enough to kind of get a good feel. But I think what I like about him is there's some versatility all over the court. He's not afraid to also post up, which I kind of like a lot.
Interesting. That kind of frustrated me.
Oh, really? You don't like him in there?
No, I like
Oh, I
his
love
post
this
game.
episode already.
I like his post game. It was just a little annoying that's what that's like his go-to, just over and over and over again. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
I get that.
incredibly efficient at it. I read through the numbers a couple minutes ago. I mean, he's dominant in there, and with that high release point, that shooting touch, it's a really good weapon for him to have, especially when they tried to throw smaller guys on him. It just felt like it a safety blanket for him, and I just wanted to see a little more.
I guess when it
It's a
comes
big
to
nitpick. It's not a
yeah, that is a
red
bit
flag.
yeah,
It's not a
you're
red
being
flag.
ridiculous.
I just want to be clear.
You're being
on that.
ridiculous. It's unbelievable. No, I'm kidding. You know what it is for me? It's just the mentality of like you're not going to just float to the perimeter all the time. I think that's where I like. Yeah, I love that. You're at least being like I can get a couple easy buckets here, and there's just a couple times where you really see the lengths just pop out of nowhere.
Yes.
He had someone dumped off like I think a drive, and they were kind of caught and dumped off a pass to him, and he like got no gather, just lefty like vicious slam, and I was like, whoa! But you could just see the length. Like he didn't explode that high, but just the length, he like was kind of nasty. I was like, that kind of popped out of nowhere. So I don't know. I just like the smoothness with his offensive game. I think it's just really smooth with that high release balance. I like the balance a lot too. Like there's a lot of movement shots, but I feel like at the end he gets squared up sometimes. So I don't know. What about you? Talk to me. What are you thinking here?
I'm just going back to the post game because it is a very, very real skill for him to go to, especially in the league. Like if he's running a pick and roll or something with a point guard and they switch a smaller defender onto him, it's like, all right, cool. Go down to the block, get an easy two. But what really popped to me in all those situations was his footwork and his balance. And we haven't seen a ton of him like creating his own shot or getting downhill. But when he was in the post, his footwork was really, really good. Where, he's knocking down drop steps and dream shakes and turnaround stuff. So I love the foundation there. And it's just now, how can we parlay that into more of an NBA role where you're creating out of DHOs, or how can we use this to get downhill a little more? There are some really fun flashes of him attacking closeouts or running off DHOs to then hit those step back mid-range pull-ups, but just, the volume wasn't always there, but the foundation definitely is. What also really popped to me was the passing, and not from a primary creator standpoint. He is not that. He is not that. He is not that. But he's a really good connective passer where he uses his shooting gravity well. He can pass with either hand really comfortably, live dribble, left or right hand. Smart passer, quick decision maker, really keeps the ball moving. Ball doesn't stick with him. I really love that about him. And again, when we talk about him as a second side guy or who's attacking closeouts or running off screens or DHOs or second side pick and roll stuff, using that shooting gravity paired with that length, that ability to get to his spots in the mid range and pass with either hand off the live dribble is really fun when you think about it in going against rotating and collapsing defenses.
The passing really jumped to me. And it's not the fanciness because it's not his game. It's just the recognition, the IQ, the awareness. He's the guy you dream of playing with if you're playing pickup ball, because he can either hit 5 threes and you're just like, great, this is awesome. I don't have to try hard because this guy can't miss, or he's giving you wide open looks all the time. So I think there's just a lot, like watching him. I wanted, and we have, I think Maxwell and the sickos on our team were on this early. So shout out to those guys in middle of the year or early in the year. So like catching up on him, I was like, okay, am I buying in, am I drinking the Kool-Aid with everybody else? And like, you really quickly just notes are like, oh, that's a good one. That's good. That's good. That's good. Like you just kind of really get excited. And then you pair that also with like what we were talking about before of like how great the physical profile is for going up. I thought the passing, like every time I was watching him, I was like, he's going to be this, isn't he? And it was the opposite, which was like positive. Like I was like, oh, great. Like I thought he was going to be really rough off the bounce or just kind of like all over the place. And like there's some creation stuff that I think needs work, but like
a lot.
I'm just saying like that's everything else that's good. We can work with that. Like it's his role, I think, at the next level is going to be that floor spacing specialist that can make the right reads, play good defense. Like I think you get to the run of playoff teams in this first round, and it would be like, oh man, like I just am looking at the order, and it's like, I know we're getting a little drunk right now, but like OKC, Orlando, Minnesota, like yes, I'd love him there with just all the talent they have. And then you can even get past like some other teams right after with multiple picks in the first round. Like if you're adding a Cedric Coward on top of what you got top 10, might get fun. Like San Antonio at 14. Like what you just, I don't know. It's every team wants this. Every team's looking for this foundational player of like, they have all of this to bring to the table. From what I've heard, good basketball IQ, got good in interviews. So I don't know. This is a fun one.
You mentioned the creation stuff, and the passing is good, but I worry about his ability to ever really create anything on his own, where the pick and roll volume over the last 2 years has been incredibly low. The isolation volume has been incredibly low. I think the handle's kind of rough. You know, there's some straight line stuff that's okay, but in general, he doesn't really ever create for himself, which is fine, but it puts him into a pretty specific role. Do you worry about that? Is that overblown? Do you have a lot of confidence that can be developed to a higher level, or do you think he's going to be more of that pure off-ball guy?
A little bit of everything. Like a little yes to everything. Is that a cop out?
Yeah.
I'm a Celtics fan, so I watched Jaylen Brown. Everyone could be like, oh, he gets it. I understand how important it is to work on that. I've talked to plenty of skills guys, trainers over the years, and they're always like, the shot and the handle is what we feel like we could always get better in a hurry. Like not going from like, hey, below average to great, but you feel like you can take a step pretty quick when you're working at that. I think he's going to be a little bit of an off-ball guy early on. That like I like his decision making when it's like handoffs, dribble handoffs, kind of like how he can kind of read and react quick. But I think the creation is like he's got to get that. He's got to almost be able to get that corner on you to use his length, or else he can be like, oh, all right, let's try again. Let's try something else. So what about you?
It feels very like A to B, and if there's any sort of speed bump in between those two destinations, it's just abort.
I sort of like that he aborts it though. I sort of like that he's like, nope, let's move on.
It's his self-awareness, and everything you hear about him is that he knows exactly who he is, why he started D3 and, you know, had to claw his way up, why he wasn't a 5-star guy. Like there's no, it doesn't seem like, based on what I've heard, it doesn't seem like there's any delusion, which is really encouraging. And especially when you think about, all right, is he going to come in here with a big head and be like, all right, time for the Cedric Coward show? It's like, no, probably not. He's probably going to come in, play defense, and knock down a fuck ton of threes. And then, you know, you work on stuff. So if he does, I don't think he needs to develop a nasty handle by any means, but if he can tighten it up a little bit, which is tough with a 7'2" wingspan, but tighten it up a little bit and be a little better about attacking closeouts, you know, nailing down some of the just a couple signature moves, whether it's a little more dynamic of a step back or, you know, a jab and go or a step through or putting guys in jail after attacking the closeout or coming off of DHOs. Not overly complicated stuff, but simple and effective, because he doesn't need a ton of space. It's just, can we take this from a C- grade to a B- in the next couple of years? And if so, then I think his offensive versatility gets really fun really quickly.
I think he knows what he is. And, you know, from us talking to teams, like especially the last couple of years, I found out that it's so important. It's like humongous with these teams. It's like if they are interviewing a player and, you know, they give an unrealistic answer, they're like, okay, really? Like, some guy that's going to go early second round saying like, I think I'm Kevin Durant out there. They're like, okay, you're not. So let's start this again. But like, I think when guys are humble and know like what their ability is on the court and in a weird way have gotten over themselves. Now, I'm not saying like they can't be confident, but it's just like, what you're going to do. I think that's a big thing. So I like how you put that. Like he doesn't, when we're saying like he needs to work on the creativity, it's not a lot of like, I'm not saying like he needs to be able to get the ball and just ISO all the time. I think he just needs to know the in between game. Yeah. So if he can unlock that, because he'll never be here's the ball, go to work. I think he'll be we just need you to make the right reads coming off of screens or handoffs. And like you said, that step back where he's got it, but he just needs to, be able to create it a little easier. I think there's just a big world, and you can see why there's a big world for him to keep climbing. And every team wants this. Every team wants this foundation. And like we said, older, but guy that's grinded to get to this point. And I don't think it's going to go to his head. I think he's going to keep working.
What about the defense?
Talk to me, Dr. Defense. What do you like? You know what I really like is when a guy's season's short and then I go to like look at his box scores and he just has a ton of blocks and steals. Like I'm more just saying, you're just more kind of like, great, like, okay. And I'm not saying a ton, but it's good when I don't pull up one and it's like, oh, 2 steals or 2 blocks, which there's a lot of those. What did you like?
I like the footwork. I like the work rate. The length really pops in terms of defensive playmaking. He has some really, really good possessions and examples of rotating from the weak side and challenging guys at the rim. He got dinged with a few tough fouls. He should probably have 4 or 5 more blocks. But then
keep that track of that. Got a report. He should have had 4 or 5 more blocks.
College refs, man, just the worst. But then I also noticed he gets caught ball watching a lot too, and maybe some of that is adjusting to a little, a step up in competition level. Maybe some of that is really trying to be honed in on being in time on that rotation, but the communication and this seamlessness with switches and defending off ball on the weak side when he wasn't the low man, it got a little spotty, especially at, game by game. I know it's only 6 games, but game 6 felt worse than game 1, if that makes sense. So I like the on ball stuff a lot. I like the playmaking instincts. I like the intention that he defends with. But there's definitely room for improvement.
Yeah, it seems like it's just the consistency with me. But I feel the length really pops. And that's where I also get to a point where I'm like, this is the next thing to unlock. And then when you unlock that, you have a really fun 2-way asset. But it's also tough because he's getting all this hype, and we're really buzzing about him. Of like, this is going from a guy that we were thinking couple months ago, like maybe you're getting him in the 40s and when I say that, I'm like, you're probably not, because he's going to be playing at Duke. So now I'm like, a week later, then we're like, okay, maybe he's into first. Now I'm like, well, maybe he's getting to the top 20. So he's had to work his butt off he keeps going up with competition level too. So I think like it's going to be one of those where it's probably going to be a little bit of a learning curve just because he keeps going up. But what has he done? Every time he's gone up, he's proven that he can play at that level. And I think that's just the defense is the next thing that probably needs to come around more consistent. Like you could look back at his numbers before this year at Eastern Washington, and sure, they look good at times, but then you're like, okay, are we going to do that? Or are we going to say the competition? Like, I don't know. I think there's just really good stuff to work with. Like a developmental coach will be pumped. And I think he's proven that like a staff would probably love working with him because he'll be ready to go and eager to get better. But like that size, that length, the footwork, I think the basketball IQ and the awareness seem fantastic as well. So I'm optimistic. Yeah, there's stuff that needs to be worked on. Like if there wasn't, I'd be like, oh gosh, we're lottery. Like if he was just like a lockdown defender, but maybe there's some legit stuff to untap.
We sure he's not lottery right now?
No, I'm not. That's why, like, you can get really crazy in a hurry because I just know teams drool over these guys. And if he's going to kick butt in all the interviews, we've seen how hot a stock can get.
All right. Anything else on Mr. Coward?
No, I mean, where would you think? What's too early?
I have him at 15 in the middle of a range that goes up to 11.
And people are going to think this is nuts right now, but like there's just clear parts of the draft where things can shift in terms of like, if you want to put it tiers, or I'm just saying like, it's not need. It's just more like, hey, the forwards had a run. It's like when you're watching the NFL draft. Oh, there's a quarterback run. Now that means that there's more players that have fallen down, or there's an offensive line run. Like defense is, you just connect the dots. So that's why I think like Cedric might climb, because there's going to be a run of teams that don't want point guards. So he might be automatically rising. It's just going to be interesting. I think 15 to OKC is a really interesting team to watch. And I think there's teams around him that would probably like him a lot.
And just even looking at the lottery right now. So 1 through 9, I think, is a little rich for me. I don't love necessarily any of those fits. It feels like a reach. I think there are better talents and swings to take. But 10 to Houston, they need shooting. And then you factor in his length, his defense, all that kind of stuff. Portland at 11 makes sense. Chicago, Atlanta kind of makes sense. San Antonio, they need shooting and length and defending. Makes sense there. OKC, Orlando at 16. Then we get into some of the playoff teams like Minnesota at 17, Miami at 20. He makes a lot of sense. He's one of these guys that's incredibly malleable because he's pretty low maintenance in terms of usage and what he needs to have to find success. And those guys fit pretty much anywhere.
I think you're spot on. I mean, it's what I said earlier. Like also in the middle of that, we had a little like Washington, Brooklyn, Utah. Like if you're double dipping, it might make a lot of sense. You know, if you're Washington, you get you're pumped about your pick earlier, and you double dip and be like, let's get another wing. Let's add it to the wing depth on our team and get a smart player. I just think it seems like a kid that if he does good in these interviews and goes and has some good workouts with teams, like teams are just going to be drooling. And we know how, like, if everyone's talking about a guy in a good way, that thing gets cooking in a hurry. It's like, oh, you think you're going to keep a secret around the league about one player? Like everyone's going to be talking about it. So he's been a very loud name recently, and you can see why. And then he goes to the combine and looks fantastic and has great measurements. And you're like, all right, I've seen this story before, and it's going to get really interesting these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and you pointed out Washington specifically with 2, and if they're at 6 and they walk away with Maluach or VJ Edgecombe or Trey Johnson, if those guys fall a couple spots, you walk away with one of those guys, and then you pick up an older guy who's an elite shooter with a ton of room for growth still. In Coward at 18 or 17, wherever their second pick is at, that's an incredible haul. It's
fantastic
in the first round. So
it's fantastic. I mean, and we're just throwing out names. Like, do we think Trey and VJ are falling? Probably not. Not me and Metcalf.
But also to 6. Like, are we considering 6 a fall?
No. But all it takes is one pick, and all of a sudden you're like, how the heck is this guy?
Like, oh my God, the guy I had at 4 went 6. Oh
yeah,
travesty.
Crazy. But I think you're right. Like a team like Washington, you could double dip and be like, okay, well, let's get a big, and then let's get our wing floor spacer, 3-and-D guy with upside, and you would be doing a backflip. I know Wizards fans are bummed, like, but if you got that haul, whew, and then like you get Utah with, whatever they do at 5, and then all of a sudden you add Cedric Coward, like maybe you get 2 floor spacing wings with size and length. Woof, like that's like Cedric Coward for those teams with 2 firsts is like the, oh my gosh,
Spurs with add 2 and 14.
Exactly. So
it's like, Dylan Harper, doesn't really add the shooting necessarily that we need, but it's like, all right, cool. Let's go get the 40% shooter who just made 72% at during the combine and get him at 14 as well. Why not?
That's the pick I'm staring at right
add
now.
that 7'2" wingspan next to Wemby and
yeah.
Castle
Everyone
and
worried about
Vassell
Harper's shooting, and it's like, well, here's Cedric Coward. There you go. But that's the character, the length, the basketball IQ, the floor space. Like that's where you get interesting. Like it might sound crazy right now, a little rich, like 14, but it's like, well, go get your guy. And if he's checking all the boxes in the world and the medicals are good because he had that shoulder injury, like, which I'm expecting he's fine. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if this is a guy that's just really cooking. Now we go to the other side of the fence, don't we?
Let's move on to Liam McNeeley, the small forward, power forward from UConn. Rocky year. Official measurements at the combine: 6'6" 3/4 barefoot, 214.6 pounds, 6'8" 8.5 wingspan, 8'4" standing reach. Had a really good shuttle run at 2.75 seconds. Tough year for him though, and he came in to UConn as one of the top off-ball shooters. Overall at UConn per synergy finished in the 59th percentile overall in points per possession. His most common play type was weirdly as the pick and roll ball handler at 18.4% of his possessions, 64th percentile, and scoring at 18.2% of his possessions, so spotting up where he ranked in the 43rd percentile. And the jumper just wasn't where you would have expected it to be. 50th percentile overall on jumper, 67th off the catch, 71 or 71st percentile when left wide open, only the 6th percentile off the bounce, and 12th percentile at the rim. Some tough numbers. He ended up at 31.7% from three on the year, but he also hurt his ankle in the middle of the year. And that's one of those things where it's like, we talked about the measurements at the combine and the testing numbers and do they show up on tape? And I did not see that type, his shuttle run number. I did not see that type of lateral quickness on tape. Even going back to Montverde, I didn't really see it, but it felt worse this year. And that's where the ankle injury has to come into play, where it's like, all right, how much did this hinder him this year? And if you're a big time shooter, and historically you've been used as a second side shooter or an off-ball shooter, and now you have an ankle injury, that's going to hurt things. And now your most common play type is as the pick and roll ball handler, because the point guard play has been spotty at best for that team. It's going to throw some things off. So I'm really struggling with Liam, and because I there's a lot about his game that I like, but the numbers and the end result and a lot of the film even this year was pretty brutal. And it's trying to figure out the context and how much that skewed it. It has been tough.
It's been really tough. I've been trying to kind of figure out, he's like one of the headaches for me right now, because I'm trying to figure out kind of who he compares into recent memory of like this type of season, where I was just I was kind of flirting with not when he was declared, but like Corey Kispert, early Gonzaga. And I was like trying to look at like the advanced numbers with them. I was like, okay, they're kind of there, but still Kispert's were better.
So I was thinking about this earlier. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead. Please help me. This will be great. I'm excited.
I feel like this is how people felt about Jet Howard.
That's interesting.
Now, Liam's I think Liam's bigger. He's a much better rebounder than Jet, but I was high on Jet. I like Jet. Hasn't worked out. A lot of people hated Jet, and I don't hate Liam, but I'm really struggling with it. Both guys had injuries that clearly affected what they were best at. And the numbers and team success just weren't nearly what the expectation was.
I keep trying to get some splits up on Liam because I was trying to look something up, but of course where I wanted to look isn't working right now. That's a good one. Jet. I haven't still Jet stock. I still think we're second team talks there, maybe potentially. Liam's tough because I think some of us want to buy into the like, hey, there's some more upside. I'm a big believer of like, if you're supposed to be this such a good shooter, why can't you shoot? And it feel like it kept coming around with Liam this year where I was like, I need the numbers to be better. It's like, I need the numbers to be better if this was supposed to be what you're hanging your hat on. I don't know where to go with this because I feel like it's going to get messy and all over the place. So like, is there a world, if anything, I feel like this might be setting up for a better path for him.
Yes.
Early in the year, we were thinking maybe there's a lottery pick, and I was like, I like him, but I don't know if I'd feel good about him as a lottery pick. Right now, I'm like, oh, if Liam goes to a team to just make it simple, I could buy into being like, how did Liam McNeeley land with this team? Like, it's just, but I also like, if I'm a team of multiple picks, if I'm Brooklyn and he's there, do I just say screw it or taking a flyer? I think I'm fascinated with him because I want to buy in because there's some plays where it's like he's really tough. I think he gives a crap. He's not afraid to go hit the boards. So like if you're giving me that with size, I thought he measured a little bit bigger than I was expecting, and the shot comes around. It's like, well, okay, that's going to stick. He's going to play, but there's also loud questions, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, the shot wasn't good this year. Whatever. We've gone through the numbers. But he came in as a shooter, and rightfully so. I mean, his last year at Montverde, 93rd percentile on all jumpers, 92nd percentile shooting off the catch, 97th percentile spotting up, 25th percentile off the bounce, which is rough. But as a spot-up guy, he has history of being an elite shooter. So that's where it comes for me, where it's like, all right, as a standstill spot-up guy, do I really think he's going to be as bad as he was at UConn this year? And I don't. I think he's going to be a lot better than that. And that's where the ankle injury comes into play. That's where the role comes into play. That's where him having to basically play point guard for them late in the season comes into play, because that's not who he is. That's not the role he should be put into. So from that standpoint, he was kind of set up to fail or struggle. Fail's a bit harsh. He was set up to struggle this year, and unfortunately he did. So if you remove all of those nonsensical point guard responsibilities that he had to create this year, and instead you put him with Orlando and you have him spotting up off of Franz and Paolo, I think it could be very realistic that this time next year we're like, how in the world did Liam McNeeley fall to 18 and he's shooting 44% on spot up jumpers this year as a rookie while grabbing 7 boards a game? Because I think he's a really smart passer. I hesitate about what he can do off the bounce and actually how he can really grow that. But when you put him in a proper role, and we talk about this all the time about scouting these guys for who they actually are, and I feel like Liam's injury and context this year at UConn didn't give us a great opportunity to do that, whereas his Montverde stuff is way more conducive for that.
I completely agree. I don't know. It's a really fascinating evaluation because it feels like you kind of at sometimes go like, okay, do I need to just go back to the high school stuff to see like what it looks like when he was cooking? But also it's just like,
but I don't know. In that context where he's playing with Cooper Flagg, Derek Queen, Asa Newell, where he's the third, fourth, second guy, depending on what lineup they're rolling out there, compared to Alex Caravan and Solo Ball and Diarra and Terrace Reed. It's like, all right, so you kind of went from an ideal let's feast roll to a, oh shit, let's go create something because no one else can.
That's where I go back to, and I reference a lot where, you know, the scouts have told me like, hey, 1 year doesn't tell the story. It's like one of my favorite lessons. So I'm like, hey, I thought UConn could do no wrong because of Stephon Castle. I was riding that high of like, what a great job they did. Yeah. It's fantastic. They're perfect. And then now I'm like, hey, was this a bad fit? And this isn't a slander to
And
UConn.
I thought it was
I
going
don't
to
need
be
the
a
Husky
perfect
fans.
fit.
Yes,
I thought it was going
this
to be a
isn't
perfect fit.
this isn't slander to Husky fans. This isn't slander Dan Hurley. Every UConn fan, calm down. I don't know how you got here, but calm down. I mean, you probably saw Liam McNeeley, so you're here. But I'm wondering if it just wasn't the right system fit. They asked him the situation. Maybe it just wasn't, and it happens. But I mean, the response to that would be like, well, what could better fit could he have had going to UConn? So you never know. It was just also a weird year. Finally, okay, I've been trying to load this page for 3 hours. The splits were also weird. He had in December, he had 5-game stretch where he was shooting 45, 42. And then all of a sudden in February, a 6-game stretch, 38, 30. And you're like, what in the world? But like during the February stretch, he's averaging 19 and 8. Earlier in the year, he's averaging 16, 5, and almost 4. Like that was the stretch we were like, McNeeley heating up. And I think you saw a little bit of the versatility, but like, as you pointed out earlier, Metcalf, like the injury, we always can't forget that stuff, because some kid might be like, I'm fine, I'm coming back, I want to hoop, and it's like, well, is his ankle 70% and he's saying that and telling the team doctor he's 90%? We never know. So a question I wanted to ask for you is like, does it seem incredibly quiet this last couple days about him? I just feel like he's the name I haven't heard like a lick. And I'm talking even like media, or I just
kind of felt that way all year though. And like whenever I've asked about him, I've never gotten anything bad. I've never had a scout be like, nope, out, hate it. But I've also never had anyone be like, oh my God, love him. It's like, yeah, he's solid. He's a good shooter, big kid. And it's like, okay. Like
I feel like it's gonna be the best job ever of just staying quiet about a guy. Like everyone in the league's like, just stay quiet. Don't say anything. But
I mean, you will not hear, or at least I have not heard a single negative about him as a person. It's just I'm struggling to find anyone who's getting like really excited about him, which is weird given for a guy with his shooting pedigree at his size. I have a lot of questions about what he can do off the bounce, or can he create advantages? I think he's a really smart passer, especially when you go back to the Montverde stuff. There's some really fun passing stuff with him. And even this year, there are flashes of it because there had to be, because he essentially became their point guard. I think defensively, it can get really tough. I worry about the lateral stuff. But again, we saw the shuttle run, which, he's apparently healthy. So how aggressively did the ankle injury skew that? I'm really struggling because I want to buy in. I want to be really excited about him. I know there are a couple guys on the team who still are, but a lot of the questions that I had coming out of Montverde of, all right, what can he do besides defensive rebound and knock down a fuck ton of spot up threes? And I didn't see really anything else this year. So
it's just really interesting. Like beginning of the year, and the free throw truthers out there, he hovered around 90% for most of the year from the line.
And I think he's going to be a good spot up shooter. I don't think he's going to be a dynamic one.
I think he's going to have to be a spot up guy heavy early on.
Yeah.
Like just to prove that he's going to have to lean on that. And then you slowly hope like the second or third year of his career, he starts to unlock a little bit of stuff where like what we were talking with Cedric Coward, like maybe he's getting a little bit more creative off handoffs and specific actions for him. I like that, even when he was struggling in that second half of the year with the percentages, like the free throw attempts per game jumped. So like that told me like, okay, he's getting nasty, he's getting to the line. Like there's stuff I like still with McNeeley. I like the toughness. I really like. It was a sneaky shock to me when I saw his measurements. I was like, he's a little bit bigger than I thought he was going to be.
He's strong.
This is very high on the like why did we not see it list? But it's what we said in the beginning. This could be that way because he ends up with a playoff team where it's just like, Liam, can you rebound and shoot threes? He's like, gladly, I'd love to. So I don't know. It's one of the guys I'm just puzzled with right now that I feel like I'm going to probably 2 weeks before the draft be like, I'm frustrated. Let's figure out McNeeley. It's just, there's always a couple of these guys, and I don't know where to put them right now. I still got him in my first round, but I don't know where
I think
I like him.
I still think he's a clear lock first round guy.
No, for sure. I just don't know where. Like, someone could take him early, and it's like, you're buying.
Yeah,
you're buying. You got good intel. You buying.
Especially if
it's
it. A second, like their second pick, like we talked about the Spurs. If they interview him, they work him out, and they fall in love and take him at 14, it might be a little rich for me, but it'd be like, all right, cool. I mean, you're walking away with Dylan Harper and Liam McNeeley. There are worse things to have, because you're going to get this nasty spot up shooter who's going to feast off of the gravity of Wemby and Fox and Harper and Castle. But if he's your only one, again, I think teams like Orlando make a ton of sense. Minnesota makes a little bit of sense to me too.
I was just going to ask you, does it make sense, or is it? I think when a team dives too much on one side of like the athleticism, defensive nastiness, like I think sometimes you have to almost swing the other way to kind of try to see, like, can you balance out the forces? Like, does it make sense for a team like Minnesota? If I don't think they would do it.
No, neither do I. Just because, like, when you look at all their off-ball shooters, they're also guys who can create something on their own, not from like an isolation standpoint, but from attack and closeout, run a second side action, stuff like that. And I'm not sold enough that Liam can do that. And that's kind of where I get really hung up in, is trying to figure out, all right, who is your comp? Who are you? And coming into the year, people were throwing around Klay Thompson, and I was like, I don't see any of that movement. Yeah, he's not knocking down those movement stuff. He doesn't run off screens like that. All of his stuff is where he's
right now.
Well, that one makes sense. But then it's like, all right, so he reminds me a lot of guys like George Niang and Doug McDermott and Corey Kispert and Sam Merrill, and apologies for the white on white comps, the relentless white on white comps. But those guys all have really good careers. I expect Liam McNeeley to have a really long and good career. But when we think about the first round, it's like, all right, at what point does that value make sense?
It is going to be interview, intel, private workouts,
which I imagine he'll kill.
He should look fantastic in those, and I bet he interviews pretty well. But like I look, Miami at 20, probably a very intriguing, like maybe, and then McNeeley seems like a Heat culture guy. Brooklyn at 19, maybe, but I kind of like if you think like, hey, this one might be on the board for a little bit. Then, like, if you're Brooklyn later, you got two jumps at it. You could be like, we're going to get McNeeley with one of those picks. OKC at 24, I feel like maybe is a sneaky one. Kind of like Atlanta at 22 with their second, first rounder. I don't know. Nick Agar Johnson, one of our editors, one of our guys, would probably be proud of me saying Utah at 21. So I think there's a lot of teams that could use that swing in a strategic, smart way. I know I said some playoff teams, but it's also like the teams that you got multiple picks. And this is a big time recruit, a guy that we thought maybe was a lottery selection to start the year for most of the beginning half of the year. And then all of a sudden now it's like, well, 24, 25. Does that seem like some intriguing value? I don't know. A lot of questions I still have, but I think it's for sure still a first round pick that I would want to get at some point. I'd be like, what are we doing? Let's get McNeeley.
And he's one of these guys where it feels like, all right, is a team drafting for need, and is that need shooting? He's going to be one of the first couple names on that list. Because he is a smart passer. He sees the floor well. He's a smart decision maker. And he rarely doesn't make a ton of mistakes. Really, really good rebounder. And he was like that at Montford too, even on that team with Asa and Flag and Queen. And he still got a ton of rebounds. So it isn't just that he's a spot up shooter. But I worry about offensively, how long and what does the ultimate role look like. So I don't know. He's been tricky.
And for everyone catching up, you'll hear like, oh, he's a great shooter. And you'll look at the numbers and be like, what? And it's just like, it's the right reaction because we all feel the same way. Like evaluate, like this year, I feel like I would watch him and be like, okay, I'm getting intrigued. And then you look up the splits and stuff and be like, what? Like it doesn't match what I just watched. So like, I think with me, Metcalf this year was I wanted the more consistent. He'd have a good game and then I'd get a ghost game and it drive me nuts. I'm like, just give me a little run for like he had 30. If you watch him against Creighton, he had 38 and 10. You'd be like, what the? This guy rocks. And then like 11 and 9 the next game in OT went 5 for 14. And you're like, I just was up here with the high. Like what happened? And but then he had a solid stretch there. So like he had a 20-point game earlier in the year. Then next game he had 0 on 0 of 9. Like, so it's just the up and down. Like, can we get a little bit of some consistency? I think that's the thing that gets me a little bit, I feel like if you unlock that, you get a really solid player. And all of the guys you listed before as like pro comps, which is hilarious. We always do the white on white, or we have to make.
I'm struggling with him.
We need to make a rule or an app or something.
And I typically try not to, but like a more in shape George Niang or a late career Nicholas Batum.
James Posey. There you go. But that's the idea that you would want from him. And I also think it's
Anthony Tolliver. There we go.
Oh, that's a good one. Golden State Warrior legend, Anthony Tolliver.
Timberwolves legend.
Timberwolves legend. I think he was a legend.
We could rattle through half the
league. I think if Liam's talk to me about his defense, I feel like if the defense was way better,
that's why
I'd probably be more intrigued. And I'm really scared at the percentages with the defensive questions because I know he battles, but it's just like, well, I don't know.
I feel like he's going to have to guard up because he's strong. I think he has solid fundamentals, but like I don't think he's quick at all, and he's just kind of stiff, a little too upright. Awesome rebounder, but none of the defensive playmaking numbers are encouraging. Could
you hide it with a good defensive team?
Probably.
Does he do enough of like I give a shit?
Stuff? Yeah. Like I never worry about the effort or the motor or anything like that. I think he's a pretty smart defender too. And again, he rebounds great for his position, especially if he's playing a 2. But I don't think he can defend 2s. So that makes it a little tricky.
The Minnesota idea now is stuck in my head. You've planted a bug because it does make some sense. Like Minnesota, Miami, even if you're buying into Miami, let's just work with this. And OKC, obviously, we can say every prospect makes sense for OKC, but I'm more just talking about like the playoff teams with like some defensive foundation around him that you can kind of use the best of his game and shield the negatives early on.
And that's kind of where Orlando keeps popping up for me as a place that makes sense. Same with San Antonio, but the thing I just can't keep struggling with is like, all right, at what point does that type of role player make sense to swing on?
Yeah, and think of this is why I love doing these episodes right now, because think of what we just described about Cedric Coward, and then think about what we described about McNeeley. Beginning of the year, complete different opposite sides of the spectrum. And right now, I'm like, I would take Howard first.
Yeah, same.
So it's just that's how things change, and it'll be found like fantastic to see.
And that stance could look really dumb in a couple years too,
for sure.
Where it's like, oh shit, his ankle was messed up, and that context was horrible for Liam. And now that he is where he is thriving. That won't shock me at all. It wouldn't shock me at all if he goes like 25th and immediately overperforms that.
And I hate this example, but I'm going to use it anyways because this is draft season and people love to point fingers and laugh at stuff like this. But like, it's high school, but the best version of Liam McNeeley was with a bunch of talent around him.
Yeah.
It's not slander to UConn, but like you could say that team was struggling this year. I don't think it's a secret. You watch the Maui Invitational, it's not a secret. So like, is there an argument that better talent around him makes Liam McNeeley way, way more effective? Fine. Maybe you get it kind of hides the weaknesses, the holes in his game, and you can, like, we see this all the time. Guys don't hit the ground running as a freshman. They don't live up to the hype, and then all of a sudden they get drafted somewhere, and we're like, what the heck were we thinking? Why did we overreact about this? Like Jaden McDaniels, I just brought up earlier. There's guys all the time that, it's just sometimes it just is the situation, the place, and he feels like someone that, like, if he gets to a smart team, they're going to inject some confidence. He should be a player that plays for a long time. So this is how fascinating it gets with a couple of these players, because you really are like, oh man, what are we going to do here?
Yeah, and I think he should be long gone before pick 30, but I'm thinking of him spotting up off of a James Harden pick and roll. I like that a lot. So
yeah, he'll go to Boston, and him and Liam McNeeley will light the revolution. It'll be great. Oh man, where would you be shocked? Like, not shocked, not shocked. Like,
top 10 would shock me.
Very much shock me. I'm saying, like,
top
he
15
comes off,
would still surprise me.
Surprise. Would 15, if he goes in the top 15, would you be like, oh, okay, they're just think it was the year? I don't think any team's going to take him top 15.
Like 14 to San Antonio, I'd be like, oh, like I that there would be other routes I would go, but I'd be like, all right, well, they identified a need and they liked him and they got their guy, so whatever. But
I still think
top 15 would surprise me a lot.
The thing is it's not.
I think 16 to Orlando would. Sorry to keep bringing them up, but
Hey, do you like the Magic? Orlando. Well, they have Tristan da Silva unlocked next year, so they're gonna be fine.
Yeah, no, I love Tristan, but he also couldn't shoot this year either. So the rest of that team,
yeah, the rest of the team, off year. They bought into the hype. They're gonna be a big bounce back team next year. It's just we're getting to that range in that top 20, and I know everyone's probably being like, "Hey, I feel great about my board at the top 20." And it's like, this is the time of the year where you start hearing stuff and you're like, woo, it's going to get vicious on draft night, because there's a lot of names that you might have moved down that teams are buying right now. And it's like, okay. And you start hearing those measurements and how guys are looking and how they're interviewing. And it's like, woo, we're going to get spicy. And I feel like that's what we've been hearing kind of since the combine started, is some names that are like, oh man, this is going to get fun. So I don't know. It's just McNeeley. I don't know where to put him. I still think top 20 would surprise me, but I know we rattled off some teams there that like maybe could shock us, but still thinking you're looking at 20 to 30 right now.
Yeah. And anything lower than that would stun me.
Surprise me.
That would stun me.
I'd trade up. Yeah. I would trade up pretty hard, aggressively. Yes. I would be like, calling Minnesota. Minnesota's it's the best pick probably now to have.
A 31, a 6'8" guy in shoes,
pissed off, motivated,
rebounds, smart player, tough, shoots the crap out of it, allegedly.
Allegedly. I get it though. I mean, it's just a tough one, but still would buy at some point. It's just, what's that point?
Agreed. Which, to wrap up, it's been a minute. No Ceilings Green Room. To finish off the episode, it is the most exclusive club in the basketball world. No more than 14 guys get in. It is based on talent, vibes, upside, production, all that good stuff. It is not our lottery rankings. It is an exclusive club. Currently in there, Cooper Flagg, Trey Johnson, Derek Queen, Dylan Harper, Kasper Siakashonis, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe, Kaman Malawach, Jace Richardson, Jeremiah Fears, Con Knippel, Tahad Pettiford. We have 2 open spots. In line, Danny Wolf, Colin Murray-Boyles, Neek Clifford, LeBaron Philon. Does anyone need to get booted from inside the club?
I don't have any strong convictions right now. How about you?
I think Jace has to go.
You're a height hater, aren't you? Did he sneak in?
And
Tough. I'm fine with that. Tough for Jace. That's the common. Everyone was bummed about the measurement. A lot of those texts. Feel bad for Jace. A lot of those texts. Feel bad for Jace. It was a tough measurement. I was like, yep. Okay, I'm fine with it. Still like him.
Still first rounder.
Easily.
Awesome shooter, smart player, tough kid.
Still want to take him in the lottery. I wish he the best.
That's neat, over 6 feet tall. So, anyone else? Where you at with Tahad? I believe he measured.
I think
6'1".
Tahad
awesome first scrimmage. Tough second scrimmage. I think he was minus 26 on the game. Not great.
Tahad also had like a 42-inch vert, which I was just like, I see it on tape too, because you just are a freak when you get downhill, fearless. It's always funny. It's just the all-time agent game. And what today was, because he had an unbelievable first game, and the agent was probably like, "Do not play. We do not need to play." And then
I'm
like,
cooking.
"Oh,
I'm going.
I'm gonna play." Did he have an absolute ice cold game? The agent's probably like, "No." So I still like to hide. We had him in.
He is currently in.
I think we could say he's out. And my only think is he came in, had a blast for about an hour, and then he's just like, he's spent. He's like, I gotta go. So maybe he came in and it was just the life of the party, but it's just like Irish exiting out right away. I don't know. He could also stay. I like Tahad. I've moved him up. I like him a lot. He could play.
Let's give him a week.
Okay, let's give him a week. Good idea. Great idea.
We got room. So
how many names do we have in?
11 only.
Oh, we have a lot of room.
Yeah.
Real estate. I'm gonna nominate someone for the line.
Okay.
Unless you have somebody else you want to get out.
No. I have one, but that's a personal thing, and I know it'll get vetoed.
What is it?
No, doesn't matter.
The people want to know. You got to spill it. What is it? You don't have to, but
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Just
personal vendetta green room.
No, not personal.
Segment?
It's never personal.
Okay.
It's never. None of this is ever personal.
You're not high on
but
them.
it'd be cool if Derek Queen had a better week. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow.
And I know I'm in the minority there.
No, we're checking in.
It's just
checking in some stuff.
Those measurements were not great.
Athleticism wise, or actual measurements.
All of it.
6'10" ish.
Yeah, cool.
I wanted him to get to the.
Congrats!
6'10",
I'm thrilled that the center was 6'10".
The funny thing is, I asked about like the athletic scoring to one scout, and a scout responded, "Yeah, it was terrible, but we all knew it was going to be terrible."
Yeah.
Like they were like,
no.
It wasn't anything.
It wasn't surprisingly bad.
So
it's just bad.
So
he's
okay.
He's fine.
I'm nominating the man of the hour, Cedric Coward, for the
I was going to as well.
Okay, great.
Should we just put him in?
Yeah, why not? Hansel, so hot right now. Hansel. Cedric's just, he's just kind of, everyone's been buzzing around him about in the green room. They're kind of like, hey, man, I think Cedric's coming here. I think Cedric's going to come hang out.
I think he just pulled up in with a black car service, got out, dressed to the nines with a good looking entourage, and just walked in, didn't even bother.
Like bouncers were like, we can't stop him.
Yeah, he just barely paid him a mind, and it's like, no, I belong here. I'm going in, and just walked in and took over.
Yeah, I think so. That's better. Just one of those, like, he never comes out, but then he came out and everyone's like, oh man, that's Cedric.
Yeah, it's like people kind of heard about him, but like never really seen him. And it's like, oh my God, he's here.
Basically, and Bruce Wayne in the Batman movies when they're like, that's Mr. Wayne. That's Cedric Coward. Okay, perfect.
Okay. The other guys in line: Danny Wolf, Colin Murray Boyles, Neek Clifford, LeBaron Philon. Any of those guys you want to put in or boot, or anyone else you want to put in line?
I have one guy that I'd probably say needs to get booted out of line, but I'm going to give him another week.
Ooh, who?
Your boy, Murray Boyles.
Oh no, I'm ready to send him home.
Okay.
I 6'6" measurement. Love it.
The measurements was great, but I saw
I
the
can't
video of him
have
shooting in
you
the corner.
I can't have you airballing combine threes.
Yeah, he had a tough week. Tough 48 hours, 72 hours. Not good.
It's like, oh,
and it's not just that.
Ooh,
it's not just that, but tough. Gonna be interesting. Not great. Anyone for nominations? Anyone to get in? I have a new overlay with all the names. I forgot to save it though, so I'll have that for next time. Metcalf always surprises me when he pulls this out, so that I'm like, oh gosh, okay, but I'll be ready next time. We'll be ready. Who's in line?
Danny Wolf, Neek, and Phylon.
Is Carter Bryant in?
He is not.
I'm going to nominate Carter Bryant for the line.
Let's go line. Love that.
Did he pull up right behind Cedric?
The bouncers were like caught off guard with Cedric just walking in, and they're like, "Oh, sir, you're gonna have to hold on a second." He's a front runner to get in next week.
That's a hot name right now. Hot name.
And for the new listeners, we only put only one gets in a week, unless we miss like a month of doing it.
So we put Cedric in.
Yeah, so we put Cedric in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else for the line? Or are you good?
I'm gonna throw Hanson Yang in line.
I'll allow it.
Well, it's the line. Anyone's welcome in line.
I know. I'm throwing Noah Essengay in line.
Okay.
I've had enough. It's my knight in shining armor. I'm gonna go to war for him. Should have been in line weeks ago. I'm sorry, Noah. You should have been in line. You've been playing great lately. You're Hansel hot right now with Buzz. You're in. You're in line.
Speaking of playing well, I'm also going to throw Nolan Traore in line.
Yes. Oh my gosh, our line's getting international. We're going to have so much shit talking in the line in different languages. It's going to be fantastic. I love this. So Traore, that sounds like a sitcom. Essengay, Hanson Yang, and Nolan Traore sounds like an unbelievable buddy cop trio of Friends movie. Oh wow!
I'm also going to throw Kobe Sanders in line.
Good, pick him up.
I want to build out the line a little more. I'm sick of only having like two guys in there. So
okay, we can do this. I could get down with building the line out.
Anyone else?
Reynaud, let's put him in. Another Frenchman. Let's get him in there. Let's get him in line. I don't know who else. League of Nations in line. Great comment. Breaking the game. Shout out. Thanks for listening. Oh man, I don't know who else. I'm trying to think. Oh, gosh, that Hanson Yang has me just all over the place. That was a great.
He was solid in that first scrimmage.
Hey, by the way, off topic, is Mark Sears back? People are talking about it.
Did he leave? And yes,
he never left. If you've stayed loyal, he's never left.
He left. If you ignored a good chunk of the season, he never left.
Exactly.
I can't put cooking.
Yoxel keeps saying he's 50-50 college or draft, so I can't put him in line.
No.
Can't do it.
Go blue.
Let's go blue. I'll put LeBaron in line.
He's already in line, so
good. I wanted to make sure of it. I don't got anyone else. I
think that's all I got. Man, there's some deep cuts here, but I'm not sure I really like them.
I thought about Drake Powell, and I was like, no.
Same. I feel like he doesn't have the vibe for it, but he's going to be a first rounder.
We can't put Janiah Broom in line after that vert.
Oh, just
brutal.
That video was rough.
The language, whatever that company was, sorry, I'm drawing a blank on it.
Duolingo.
Oh my gosh, that tweet, Hall of Fame status.
That was incredible.
I like passed out from laughing so hard, and then like saw 5 other people on Twitter. Shout out Kyle Mann was like, "This is in the NBA Hall of Fame for tweets," and I was like, "Yep, this is an all timer." So I don't know. I think that's all I got.
Cool. Same. Yeah. No, I think we're looking better. Rucker, this is blessed as always. We got a ton of stuff up at NoCeilingsNBA.com. Make sure to go check all of it out. I'll have a piece on Carter Knox up on Friday. We had a mock draft, updated mock draft go up this week as well. We also just hit 15,000 on YouTube. You guys are incredible. Every time we ask, you deliver. So why not 16? Why not 17? You're here, you're watching. I see the numbers. You guys are awesome. Just hit that like and subscribe button while you're here. We're gonna have a ton of content going up through the draft. We also still have a special going on for No Ceilings Plus subscribers that ends Friday's the last day to get it. So make sure to go check that out. Take advantage of that for either the next couple of months or a full calendar year. Huge discount over there, gets you access to a bunch of exclusive stuff. So go take a look if you can afford it. If it interests you, click that subscribe button. But he's Tyler Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. I'm Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at TMetcalf11. If you like this episode, please make sure to rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. But until next time.